Meet Gloria Anderson, a victim of elder financial abuse. She lost a lot of money, perhaps $1 million of her life savings and investments, to someone she trusted, a longtime family friend. How long did you know him?
Ever since he was probably about, I'll say about 5, 4, 5, about 6, we'll say 6.
You knew him his whole life.
That's right. A little boy.
So you trusted him?
I did.
So it must have been a really big surprise, huh?
Yes. Yes, it was.
It was back in 2007 that Gloria Anderson, then 83 years old, allowed a longtime family friend to care for her. Yes, Gloria knew him from the time he was a small child. But what Gloria's own daughter and family did not know was that this family friend had secretly convinced Gloria to sign over her bank accounts and properties and legal powers to him. Ruby is Gloria's daughter.
The person had allegedly got power of attorney over her, so that gave him carte blanche to go into her accounts and practically drain her dry, along with other people too, that my mother would give money away and trusting that these people would pay her back, and they never did. And but this other person had stole the bulk of her estate. He had taken over the building in terms of collecting rent that we never saw.
Building she owned?
Yes, that she owned.
Ruby also says her mother paid for a cruise for that family friend.
Him and his entourage took a cruise.
They took a cruise? Him and his entourage took a cruise on her dime?
It's a possibility, yes.
What we have here is a case where somebody didn't suspect that a longtime friend would do something so evil. Gloria's godson discussed the problem.
My godmother had a lot of trust in him, as my sister just said.
But he took advantage of that trust and took control of rental properties and bank accounts.
Well, it was a lot of money. It's over, close to $1 million what he came into, and as my sister just said, he took over this building, and he quit talking to her,
How quickly did all this happen? Was it done in weeks, months, years?
Months. Yeah, it was a month. It was a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there. And then she had, as my sister didn't get to mention, she had a stroke. And that's when they got full control.
And all that time, Gloria thought that the man she knew from the time he was a child would do the right thing for her. So what's the problem here is that everybody trusted everybody else and didn't know that you were getting robbed.
Well, yeah, it was. That's what it was. It was a thing that the old saying, Spike Lee would say, she thought he would do the right thing.
But he didn't. Gloria was convinced to sign over her property and her rights. And Gloria was cut off from her children. Even her phone number was changed.
Shortly after that, the locks were changed.
And then Gloria was transferred to a care facility, and no one else knew about it. And the man who got control of Gloria's money had quite a life.
This big house in Rancho Cucamonga, 4 or 5 bedrooms, all the toys, the cars, the jet skis, the motor homes, the travel.
The last person on earth who you thought would steal, stole.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is one of Gloria Anderson's properties, one of the properties that was embezzled from her. And they were able to get it back virtually in the nick of time. Mary Lockington became their lawyer and went to court to get Gloria's assets back. She met with the family to recount what happened.
The first thing that we did was ask the person who was responsible for the money to give us an accounting. And do you remember what the response was?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Zero.
And we sent numerous letters, certified mail, and what was the response?
Nothing.
So at that point, we all just there was a big red flag, because if everything was in order, he would have simply responded.
That's when the lawsuit started, and the criminal investigation also.
We noticed that she had about $200,000 in the account, and it was depleted to $7,000, and we knew that she had an income of about $5,000 a month. So we were wondering where that $200,000 went. That was our initial guesstimate. Months later, we got all of her financial records. And do you remember how much was deposited and withdrawn from her account? It was over $1 million in and out.
And money was shifted from Gloria's bank accounts to a business operated by that friend.
He had a corporation, a DBA, and there, in his deposition, when specifically asked, did this DBA provide any goods or services to Mrs. Anderson? The answer was no. Did it loan any money to Mrs. Anderson? No. Did Mrs. Anderson loan any money to the DBA? No. We found in a 24-month period, $120,000 in checks were written to that DBA. And we know that it wasn't accounted for on their tax returns.
Elder law attorney Mary Lockington told me these kinds of elder ripoffs happen frequently.
It's more common than you would ever imagine because it's hidden. It's a secret. And many times you don't find out until it's too late. The money's gone, the caregiver's gone, or the person's deceased and they have no family to go after the money.
In this case, the red flags went up when Gloria Anderson told her daughter that she didn't want to stay any longer in a boarding facility where that family friend had moved her.
She was expressing she wanted to go home. She was being held hostage at a board and care facility when she had the capacity to come home and live in the home that she owns. And then she was expressing concern over her finances. So we simply asked the power of attorney, the fiduciary, to provide us an accounting. And there was absolutely no response. That's when the red flag went up.
So you actually said, what's going on? And he wouldn't even talk, and that tips you off.
Absolutely, absolutely. We wrote to him and said, Mrs. Anderson would like to go home. We'd like to work together to transition her home. And we understand you're taking care of her finances. We didn't have the powers of attorney in our hands, so we were on assumption. And he didn't respond. There's no reason for him not to respond if all the paperwork is in order. He simply had to call and say, oh, I'll get it to you in 30 days. I need to go back through the bank records. But in this case, he couldn't do that because of the amount of money he was using for his own personal benefits.
And what did you find out?
We found out that over $500,000 clearly was spent on their own personal debts.
Now an update. This case went to trial. There was a judgment.
We just got a judgment in the financial abuse case of $1.3 million against the perpetrator of financial abuse. Now we'll go into collections. Now we are going to be searching for their assets. We know they have 4 pieces of property. We know that they work, and so it's a matter of collection. Also, we believe that the authorities will be filing charges against these individuals.
Gloria Anderson is back in her home, the home she almost lost to someone she thought she could trust. Things are getting better?
I hope so. Has to.
Call the Lockington Law Group for a free consultation to evaluate if you have a valid case involving elder abuse. 855-562-5529. The Lockington Law Group will give you a free consultation. Do not hesitate to call.